talking, questioning, sharing your experience, information, education, entertainment, news, instructions, advice on diabetes, high blood pressure, strokes, menopause, AIDS, pregnancy, sex.
Sex? Did you say sex?
As prescribed, take your medication, exercise, and diet. On 88.5 Sufra FM, tell a friend, call your neighbor. Casualty 911 is on.
And of course, good morning to you wherever you are looking on to Sufra FM 8.5. Look at that. 40 minutes after the hour of 10 a.m. Of course, it's a beautiful Monday morning. Damn. I got a shout out to all you woke up feeling great this morning. Some of you on vacation, enjoying. Some of you, it's your off day today. But they don't play that before they off do. You ever see? Anyways, Casualty 911 is on. Good morning to you, Miss Wilson. Welcome inside another edition.
Good morning, Erlan. I trust you had a very good weekend.
Yep.
Wonderful. I must admit, did you spend a good Father's Day?
Yeah, I spent time with my kids, you know.
Yeah, very much so. Of course, let me wish all the fathers out there, belated Father's Day. It's a journey, not only for mothers, but for some fathers. Some fathers have full responsibility for their children. Some fathers play an integral role in their children's lives, and kudos to those fathers. For fathers that, waiting until the children get older, have a good job, and say, that's my child. I think you need to revisit that and start from now, taking care of your child. These are things we see in society, and at the end of the day, children need loving parents in their lives. Loving fathers, loving mothers. Some children do need a father role to guide them, and they miss out on a lot of opportunities without their father. We women try to be both mothers and fathers, but however, nothing replaces a father's love. I mean, a mother can provide that love, so true, but I mean, having a father's love is quite, enjoyable. There are so many things you tend to gravitate towards your father about rather than your mother, and I can tell you that because I grew up with both parents. So it's a wonderful experience, and I'm hoping that fathers out there can take that opportunity, think, evaluate yourself and say, look here, I have my child. Let me play a role in my child. It's just not about the monetary contribution, but spending quality time with your children. All right. Having said that, let me say good morning to all our listeners out there. MNC Hotel Chocolat, our market vendors. Who else? Our people from Conneries, residents of Conneries, bus drivers, everybody that is listening. Shout, Miss Odell, OJ's Sidewalk, always log on to us. Let me say a good morning to you also. Sandra's Boutique. Oh, yes. Let us not forget Miss Sandra. Good morning. Those persons online, and we're hoping that persons can call in the program and give your contribution. This month, I mean, we have a very, very good topic, especially for the fathers, but I will allow our guests to speak about it. But before I start with our guests, I would just like to say this month, June 14th, was Blood Donor Day. And we know our hospitals have been fighting, have been begging, have been asking for persons to donate blood. And we're at the critical stage where our hospitals cannot provide patients with the blood based on the demands due to accidents, surgery, and so much more. So, if you can make some time, call St. Jude's or the mobile blood bank. I mean, last year we had a program about it, and go and donate blood because the theme this year is give blood, give plasma, share life, share often. Some persons have it. You don't have to wait until you know there is a family member out there that is hospitalized that needs blood, and everybody is rushing to, donate blood. But make it part of, your goal for this year to give blood. I know some persons are, afraid of the needle, but it's just for a short period of time. And I can tell you, those persons are very professional. They will take care of you and ensure that you go through the process nicely. So don't be afraid, take some time. Suffrarians, Shozelians, go out there and donate blood because you never know. Today it might be you needing that very same blood, and other persons have to go out there to donate blood because you hear the plights out there. I mean, asking persons to donate blood for particular individuals and so on. So I want to really focus on persons taking time out to donate blood, and not only because it's blood donor day for this month, but it's something throughout the year you have been hearing our institutions asking for, and we really want persons to partake in that activity. A group of friends, instead of going out, let's say you're going to a fete together, I mean, you could sit down and say, okay, let us go and give blood. Find out if we are eligible to give blood. You understand? The workplaces, you can combine, come together as one and decide that is an initiative we want to take. You understand? Voluntarily, if our staff want to participate in that activity. And together it goes a long way. I can guarantee you some people might be skeptical. They might not want to donate blood, but some persons might be willing. And through that first experience, you might just be a regular donor. And that is one of the things we're really asking persons to take that initiative through the year. I mean, even if it's once a year, you can donate blood, all well and good. So let me just say, today we have a guest speaker, and she's no stranger to us on the radio program. Miss Felix. Jenna, are you Miss or Mrs. Felix?
I'm Mrs.
You hearing
Edward.
Miss Jenna?
Are you hearing me? Hello.
Oh, hi, Jana.
Hi.
Oh,
Morning.
okay. Morning. I was just saying, are you Miss or Mrs. before I say
Mrs.
that?
Edward.
Mrs. Edward?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she's no stranger to us. I've always found Mrs. Edwards' voice very calming, very smoothing. I mean, she is quite knowledgeable, and she's able to, you know, bring out the message across very nicely so that persons can understand. And we're hoping that you could take some time, especially the fathers, take some time to listen to that program, and afterwards evaluate yourself. I mean, you might not go through it now, you might go through it later, or you have gone through it, and if you knew what you know now, you would have done certain things differently. So Mrs. Edward, I
Hi.
leave it up to you now to give a short introduction and to go on to your topic.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Father's Day to all fathers. Um, I just want to applaud you for taking the time out to encourage people to donate blood, because oftentimes people donate only when there is a disaster or when they have a close friend or family member who is in need of blood. But the reality is that blood is needed on a daily basis at the hospitals, and there are many functions for the different components of blood. So we would encourage persons not only in blood donation month or time to donate blood, but to do so as often as they can, so that they can provide something for other people that they're unable to gain on their own. So my name is Jana Felix Edward. I am a community mental health nurse attached to, well, mainly to Region 4, which is Mickwood and its environs. But I also work in Region 3, which is Denry, and Region 5, well, part of Region 5, which is Viewfort. Today, the intended topic is one that I'm sure a lot of people never even knew existed, but we decided to talk about it today because yesterday was Father's Day, and oftentimes our fathers' conditions concerning our men, they basically go under the table. They're forgotten about. So we want to never ever forget our men because they are valuable members to society. They're valuable contributors to the livelihoods of our children and of our women and of society on a whole. Today we're going to talk about paternal postpartum depression, which is postpartum depression a lot of people have heard of, and they expect it to be with women. However, 1 in 10 men are diagnosed with paternal postpartum depression. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm always excited about mental health. So I'm excited about today.
Go ahead, Jana.
Okay, so as I stated, paternal postpartum depression is postpartum depression in men. And as indicated earlier, 1 in 10 men experience postpartum depression. And that number actually increases by 50% when their partner, meaning the mothers, also have postpartum depression. Now, the thing with paternal postpartum depression is that it often goes unrecognized and unseen because men generally feel like they are they are supposed to be the strong ones in the relationship. And so they would often not talk about how they feel because there's often fears of being looked down upon or being shunned by their spouse, by their partner, or by society on a whole. And so you find that they internalize their issues a lot. They would not speak about it, and so it would go unseen. Additionally, when you think about postpartum depression in women, the symptoms are generally the same with persons with depression. So they would go through periods of having sleep problems, and they would go through periods of feeling extremely sad and withdrawing themselves from children and their families. However, with paternal postpartum depression, you find that the men, instead of being sad, they tend to show a lot more aggression. They tend to be very aggressive and at times can even be abusive to their partner, their significant other, or to any other persons within the household. So it could be older or younger children. If they have parents, etc., living at home, they tend to do that as well. And so a lot of women, when they see their men acting that way, they automatically begin to believe that the men don't care about them or their children, or the men don't love them, or they have done something wrong, or the men just simply don't want to be part of the upbringing at the time because the child is still young, the upbringing of the child. But 9 out of 10 times, that's really not the case. Um, we need to recognize that being first time mothers is the same as being a first time father. And there's a lot of expectation from men, holistically in society, not just with being working men or being providers, but that expectation is actually tripled when they have children, because now they have to think about their one current income that has been doing so much for the house has to stretch even further. Sometimes you have to think of another source of income. They have never been a father before, the same way we have never been mothers before. They've never been a father, so they don't know what to do. There's no blueprint or book or second nature that just kicks in as soon as you become a parent. A lot of those things are learned behaviors. You learn from the experience that you're having, and you know how to curtail it for the second, third, and fourth child. And so we need to be very mindful of our men at that time as well. Is there anything you want to ask at this point?
Oh yes, I definitely want to ask a question.
Sure. Mhm.
Um, Hearing you speak about it, I think a lot of us, I mean, as first time mothers, we tend to be a little bit lost, and also first time fathers. Like you said, there is no blueprint, and you know, sometimes you have that expectation of your spouse, the fathers, and many times, I mean, listening to you speak about the aggression, um, that really comes because you, as the mother, maybe you're suffering from postpartum, and then, I mean, they don't even know how to deal with you. And then, like you said, sometimes you're the main breadwinner, have to work and so on. And they too tend to suffer from it. And all the time you thinking that the man does not love you, and the man, and and sometimes they come in the house, but by the time they arrive there, one time it triggers something, and they walk right back out. And listening to you, I'm saying we experience it, and we stay home as women crying because at that time our hormones and everything else. Um, but I never knew about paternal postpartum depression. And hearing you speak about it, I think many of our um, fathers, some of them might be going through it, and they never realize, or we as women don't even know about it. So I mean, one time I'm saying, since that is happening, do you think that could be something that can really affect the relationship of um, parents, young parents, and then we become single parents, Jana?
Of course, it can, because actually one of the factors that affects that contributes to paternal postpartum depression is unresolved relationship problems. So you find sometimes when persons already have issues in their relationship, and the men already feel so pressured by their significant other, they feel like they are not heard, they're not seen, they're not understood, they're not anything. And the partner does not really understand what the men are going through. It can exacerbate the issues in the relationship and make the issues even worse. And you find a lot of the time the couples can't handle it. They simply just cannot handle it. And so that's why it's important, I know we have a lot of unplanned pregnancies, but
Mhm.
even when the pregnancy comes, it is really important to have an honest sit down with each other and talk about what expectations you have of each other, and talk about how you are going to deal and to cope with any issues that arises during the course of the pregnancy and even after the pregnancy, after the delivery of the child. And oftentimes it's important to speak to somebody that is non-biased and non-judgmental, somebody that both of you may not even know. And so you one person doesn't feel like the opinion may be biased, the opinion of the individual may be biased. um, and so they can also assist you with putting things into perspective, because in relationships a lot of the time we only see what we're going through. We don't really take time to understand what the other person is going through. And we as mothers, we see our role and our responsibility as being so grand. It is so big. We have to breastfeed, we have to bathe, we have to change pampers, we have to raise, we have to instill manners, we have to discipline, we have to do all those things. And sometimes we feel like the men are just not there. They're not there. Sometimes we feel like the men's contribution is a lot less too than what we contribute. But they don't see, we as women don't see that the men are contributing only in a way that culturally they have been expected to contribute. So now that times are changing and women require a lot more male presence at home, and the workplaces are realizing the importance of men in the upbringing of children. So they've started doing such things as paternity leave. I know the government of St. Lucia does 7 days, and in the private sector, it is encouraged but not forced that men get paternity leave. But even in those times, it's important that support is available to the men. Now, what we find in public health is that a lot of, not all, but we do have a substantial percentage of families who see the private practitioner for childcare and for antenatal and postnatal care, and they are missing out on a lot of the sessions that the public health facilities offer, in that we offer mental health services to both mother, child, well, or mother, child, and father, and those services are free of charge. So if you feel like either yourself or your partner is different, they're not the same, they're not coping with the birth of the child, they're not coping with the pregnancy, they're not coping with their parental responsibilities, they can come in and access this service free of charge, because one thing we do not want to lose is our men in the upbringing of our children.
I tend to agree with you. Um, the most times when the women go to antenatal and the clinics and the men accompany them, it makes such a big difference
It does.
because it's a learning process for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And men do have their questions too, so that's a
They do.
an avenue. When you go out there to these clinics, you could ask your questions, you can find out what is happening, and you could be just to open your mind towards certain things, and
Mm-hmm.
it can really help with the process of bringing up the child, and also women need to understand that if you really want your partner to play a role in helping out, I mean, allow him to change the pumper. He might not do it the best, but
Mm-hmm.
eventually
He will learn.
he will grab on and he can do it with when you're not home. Allow him to do the bottle also. You understand?
We
Allow him
also
to
have to
do.
consider the way that we speak to the men.
Very much.
when they're not, like, you're not doing it properly. That's not how you have to do it. Just let me do it. Just let me do it. When you have that type of attitude and you speak to the men like that, and sometimes the men want to learn. They don't
Mhm.
know, but they want to learn. When you speak to them like that, and they're already feeling like they are half as good as you when it comes to parenting, how would you really expect them to want to continue to learn? Instead of shouting and being rough and harsh, you could, let me show you how. No, that's not how you strap it. You have to put the strap like this. Make sure it's not a little tight. Put your finger inside. Make sure you can move your fingers. That way we know for sure the baby can move and the pamper is not too tight on the belly. You know, that type of thing. Instead of shouting and being rough and harsh towards the men, involve them. A lot of the time we are more interested in involving the older children and showing the older children how to do stuff, and not the fathers. So we need to learn to be mindful of how we speak to them and how we teach them how to do things as well.
I tend to agree with you, Jana. And so, in that way, less stress is being placed on one parent, and both parents can accomplish, the challenges together and overcome these challenges together as parents, especially first time parents. So, it's a good thing that fathers can play their role in assisting. And I just want to say, based on my own experience as a mother, as well, how should I say it? The first time for me, it was very, very challenging. And sometimes, when fathers are there, it plays such, how should I say, it helps a lot, especially if you have not slept in the night and a dad is there to take over the shift. I can tell you it goes a
A
long way,
long way.
because we pet mothers are working mothers. After a few months, even if we take our vacation, we still have to go back to work. And you find a lot of women are career women. So, after a night shift and you have to, go to work in the morning, it can be very, very difficult. And having the father there to provide that support, I can tell you the stress on your body is less. You will sleep better. You're able to take some time, have some me time. And another thing women need to understand, the men need some me time too.
Of course.
We come with that notion we're the only one at home taking care of the child. Sometimes that's the case, but sometimes the fathers are there right through and they need some me time. So you have to allow that. Sometimes you really have to allow that, because as Jana said, they're working, they're helping you take care of the child. So if a day comes and say, I need some time for myself, we need to understand that too. Isn't that right, Jana?
Of course, both mothers and fathers need a
Both.
break from being a mom and a dad. They need some time to themselves where they can recharge. I call it recharging. You can recharge so you can come back to that child and be a better parent. You cannot possibly be your best self if
Mm-hmm.
you're not taking care of yourself. So you cannot give your child the best version of you, the best mom, the best dad, if you have done nothing to take care of you mentally and physically. You're only going to give the child a 60-70% version of you. And oftentimes that 60 or 70% version have a lot of shouting and a lot of blaming and a lot of negative comments that you can actually end up lashing at the child. And so these children end up being difficult emotionally because they often feel like something is wrong with them. Mommy's always shouting at me. Mommy's always yelling at me. I didn't do anything wrong. Why is she being that way towards me, etc. Or
Mm-hmm.
daddy's always doing this, daddy's always doing that. So in order to be your best self, you need to take time away from that child. Oftentimes I would tell moms, if you're alone with the child and you find yourself frustrated, don't pick up that child. In as much as a lot of people think, oh, they're only a few weeks old, they don't understand, they don't know,
Mhm.
the child can actually feel your energy. They
Very
can
much so.
feel what you give off. 1 minute of crying, 30 seconds of crying is not going to kill your baby. Go in a separate room for 30 seconds, take a couple of deep breaths, calm yourself, and then go and tend to that child's needs. But if you try to tend to that child's needs and you're frustrated, or you're even more angry or frustrated with that child, the child is going to feel it, the child is going to cry more. You may find the way you shake the child is a lot different. It's not a nurturing shake, it's a more rough shake. You may find if you decide to make a bottle for that child, you didn't do it as well as you would have normally done it. It may be hotter, it may be cooler, it may not have as much milk. You may find you are a lot more stressed, so you find yourself shouting or speaking to the child in a stern tone that is
Mhm.
not even necessary, when all the child needs is nurturing or caring. So it's best to take that 30 seconds or 1 minute before you actually go to the child and take care of you for that little time. Calm yourself and then go to the child. If you feel like you need the man's support and the man is coming home, or he's on his way home, or he's home already, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Oftentimes we expect the men to just know we need help. Sometimes they don't know, because a lot of the time we women are to blame. We act like we're super mom, we act like we're the super parent, we act like we can do everything by ourselves. And so in our actions, there is an equal reaction, and the man would just be like, if you feel you got this, you got this. You independent, I'm going to let you be independent. That's why if you need them, you need to go and tell them, I need you. I need this from you. I need you to do this while I take 10 minutes to myself doing that. If you need any help, come to me and I will direct you as to how to do it. That type of communication is essential with proper nurturing and rearing of children.
I can tell you, Jenna, if I knew that at the time I had my child, I would have done a lot of things differently.
Yes.
Exactly what you're saying there, because I too, having my first child, well, I only have one, but then at the time I was so frustrated and I could not understand why my daughter, um, as soon as the father entered the house, she would be breastfeeding and she would have,
Stop.
put her hand, yeah, stop right away um, and then, put up her hand so that her father could hold her.
And you
And she
feel
would
so
fall asleep,
unimportant.
you know, and she would
Yes.
fall asleep right away. It's
Yes.
because maybe my body, I've been so frustrated, I've not slept, and I was just, you know, and maybe she could have, sensed all these things about me. And
Yes.
that is why she find that calmness
Mm-hmm.
and so on. Because I'll be there for the whole, and I say, but why don't you not sleeping? And I'm crying, and oh my God. And in the moment, the father comes home, and the father, she puts her hands up, and children don't leave their mother's breast like that.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be something really, really, and then she would just, and then in a matter of seconds,
Yes.
she would just fall asleep. So a
Mm-hmm.
father's role can really make a difference. Honestly, it can. And that's a little opportunity I would have gotten to sleep. And
Mm-hmm.
that would be, I would be snoring heavy. He would tell me, Luisa, you actually snoring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even
Because
put
you're
the child down
exhausted.
yet. Yes, I'm exhausted. I don't put the child down to sleep and you're already snoring. That's to show you. A little help like that can really go a long way. By
Oftentimes, as mothers too, when we see that child leave us to go and meet the fathers, instead of feeling like, oh, that child, my son, my daughter really miss their dad, and it's now time
Mhm.
for them to spend time with their dad, we start seeing the child like, whole day I there with you. The man just walk through the door, and you just leave me to go and meet the man, and then we start feeling like the child prefer the man over you, but we're not even realizing that the man has been out of the house for 8, 9, 10 hours working. The child has not seen the man for the day, so he finally walks through the door, and it's like fireworks has started because they miss him. They miss him. You, as a mother, probably didn't even have an opportunity to miss him because you've been busy tending the child, tending the house, cooking, trying to take care of yourself. Sometimes the 10 hours pass and you have not even showered. So instead of thinking of those things, embrace the presence of the man, enjoy the fact that the child enjoys the man's presence, give the child to the man, and go and bathe, go and brush your teeth, go and comb your hair, go and sleep. Take care of this is your opportunity to take care of yourself instead of feeling like it's something to do with the child or the man. Take it as
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to take care of you.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you because that is the ideal time you get to do a little something for yourself. Now,
Mm-hmm,
I mean, with me, I felt the child loved her father more than me, or I
mm-hmm,
felt I was starting to feel that the father loved the child even more than me. You
mm-hmm.
understand? Because he was giving the child much more attention than
Attention.
me. And I did not understand he was actually helping me out. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? So these are things mothers can go through, and having the father present, I mean, can make a difference, but you need to understand. I mean, he's just helping
It's
out, if
helping. Mm-hmm.
anything. You understand? And that
Yes.
was me. I was feeling, oh my God, he loves the child more than me now, or
Mm-hmm.
the child loves him more than me. But I mean, now that Jenna is speaking about it, I'm hoping that mothers can have a better understanding of the role of the father in a child's life, and
Yes.
and how that can really impact, I mean, you as an individual as well as the child, in a positive light.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Children tend to be more emotionally stable when they have a father figure in their life, especially it is so important that the fathers are there for our boys,
mm-hmm,
because we women, we do not know how to be men. In as much as we might try to tell a man how to be a man, we can't. We can only tell them what we expect from them as women, but we cannot tell them how to be men. And so that's why it's so important to be able to tell, for a man to be able to tell and show a boy how to be a man. The same way as women, we know how to tell our daughters what to expect. When when we have our daughters and they go through stuff like puberty, we are the ones to teach them how to put the pad on, how to insert a tampon, stuff about feminine hygiene, what to walk with you in your bag, how important it is to have a feminine hygiene bag in your possession, what to expect when your period is coming, what to expect when it's going, what to look for if it's abnormal, men cannot do these things with our daughters. They can read on the internet, but the internet doesn't have everything. And we're the ones who have gone through it. And so our experience, we can lay it down for our daughters. And it goes the same for men. They are the ones to teach our boys how to be men. And we have to allow them to teach our boys how to be men. And their presence is as equally important in our daughters' lives as well. So our daughters don't make terrible decisions when it comes to having boyfriends, or or the men that they want in their lives as a partner. They have a figure for that. They A lot of the time they look at the relationship their mother and their father had. And if that relationship was a healthy one, they're not going to expect anything less from a man for them. Like if my father used to open the doors for my mom, why wouldn't a man do that for me? I am worthy of that too. If a father used to be supportive of their mothers, help them out with raising the children, with doing the homework, with discipline, etc., they would expect that from a man as well. And so that's why it's so important that our men's mental health are are seen as the same level as women. We stress on maternal mental health and maternal postpartum depression, but we don't think about our men, and their feelings are equally as important as our women's feelings.
That is so true, and that is a message out to um, our mothers or persons who are couples who are planning to have children, or persons who just had newborn. But to tell you the truth, during our clinics now, we see a lot more fathers coming out
Yeah,
to the clinics, which I must say that's a very, very good start.
it is.
Um,
It is.
Many of
I
the
wish that
fathers
we
will
would
come
have
to
some
the
sort of
antenatal clinics.
legislation to allow fathers to come to antenatal clinics with mothers, the same way a mother can request time to attend her clinic
Mm,
because she's pregnant. We should allow that from men too, because these mothers have to get to
that is so
there,
true.
from there. Sometimes we have to consider transportation, assistance with carrying the
Mm-hmm.
bags, um, learning opportunities that the men are missing out on. So the whole pregnancy period should not just be primarily the mothers coming to clinic. The fathers need to be there as well. So the workplaces need to be more open-minded and allow the fathers to be present. And although I applaud the efforts of the government of St. Lucia in the paternity leave that I mentioned earlier, I think they should consider making it more than 7 days, because imagine leaving a one your new mother with a 1 week old at home. And a lot of us have people. We have our mothers, we have our friends, we have other family members that are live close by, so they can assist us with that child. But being in health teaches you that we have a lot of moms that have nobody. They have nobody that they can rely on other than the child's father to assist them with the child. Imagine being a C-section mom and the child's father has to leave to go back to work after 7 days. 7 days is not enough for the man to be home with you, helping you. A lot of families don't have anybody. A lot of households cannot even afford to hire somebody to come in to assist. And so that's why it's important
Right.
that the women get more help at home as well.
And some fathers, they do take the initiative of taking their vacation leave around that time also. So that's
Yes.
one thing fathers can really take into consideration. I
Mm-hmm.
know there are some workplaces that might not be so flexible, because
Mm-hmm.
persons already have their schedule dates for vacation leave. But
Exactly.
fathers
Exactly.
that are flexible enough, some of them do take their vacation leave to provide that level of support
Yes.
to mothers. And I think that's one of the opportunities fathers really get to see what it's like after giving birth, all the stresses, the ups and downs, the challenges for new time parents, first time
Yeah.
parents, because I mean, there are certain things you really feel that will just come naturally,
Yeah.
especially as the child cannot speak. You don't know what's hurting, the child is crying. So, both parents experience these things together. And it really helps out because now that you know what the mother is going through as a father and you're experiencing it yourself, I mean, as time goes by, you really understand that, you really have to play a role in assisting because you went through that level of stress through the first few months or first 1 month or 2 months.
Right.
So, It really helps out. If you can take your vacation around that time, especially for mothers that don't have that help that
Mm-hmm.
Jenna was speaking about. You have no family member around you, it's just you. So if you can take your vacation around that time, it would be very helpful
Of course.
to the moms, first time moms, or even like it don't have to be first time moms. Especially as Jenna said, if your partner had a C-section and so on. So it will be very helpful if you can take that initiative.
Definitely.
Jenna, is there anything else you'd like to um, speak about or reach out to our fathers?
Well, one of the things that I didn't mention was for both mom and dad to practice something called positive self regard. So a lot of the time when we're first time parents or even second, third time parents, we tend to question a lot of things that we are doing. And because we don't know, so we tend to wonder if we're doing the right thing, and we tend to be very hard on ourselves at that time. So it's important to look at the positives of what we're doing and learn from what we're doing instead of bashing ourselves every opportunity that we get. So we as women can also practice be sending out positive messages to the men, being appreciative, even if they may not have made the bottle the right way or changed the pamper the right way, being appreciative and showing appreciation to and actually verbalizing that appreciation towards the men and being like, I'm happy, I'm appreciative, I'm thankful that you made an attempt at doing this. Um and I hope it's something that continues. Being positive with the men can often encourage them to continue the positive behavior that they're doing. Also, it's important to consider with management of paternal postpartum depression that they can seek, I mentioned before, seeking some form of therapy, whether it be couples therapy or individual therapy. Because a lot of the time, the men go through things in their childhood or in their young adulthood that they may not have expressed to their partner, but oftentimes affect their parenting skills. So they may not have expressed that they were raised in a toxic or an abusive environment where the father or the father figure or sometimes even the mother may have said things to them, like they may not amount to anything, they would not do anything positive in life, etc. And so all of those feelings have been bottled up, they've never dealt with it, and now that there's another human being to be raised, those feelings go from being in your subconscious and they just drive themselves into the conscious, and so you very very negative about yourself, and you don't know how you will cope. So therapy, whether it be couples therapy or individual therapy, can assist with you being a better father, a better partner, a better lover, a better friend to your significant other, etc. Other than that, we know our men tend to not talk about their problems, but we want to encourage them to be open verbally to, if not their partner, they can walk to any health facility and request the assistance from the mental health team. And we would be more than willing to assist with discussing whatever fears or difficulties they may be experiencing in their lives personally, in their lives as a parent, in their lives as a partner, etc. And they can get the assistance that they need, because they need to remember that they're not raising that child for themselves. They're raising that child for society. They're raising that child to be a fruitful member of society. And in order to do so, you need to be your best person.
Well said, Jana. I couldn't agree with you more. And we really hope that that message do come across to everybody. I mean, if you've heard that message, you can always speak to your friends about it, or even when you realize your friend is post probably going through that phase, It would be wise to speak to them about it so that they can get the necessary help that is available free of charge. You can always come to our wellness centers, Sufre Hospital, or the wellness centers island wide and find out when the mental health clinic is available and who they can speak to. An appointment can be made, and you can get
Yes.
the necessary help, not for only you but also your partner. So we have the services available and we want persons to make use of this service. So come out there if you know you a father that must be probably going through postpartum depression. Come out there, speak to our mental health professionals and let them guide you. Jenna, as you said, it's not a very common topic, and many of us were not aware of that topic. And I'm so very grateful for the mental health team for coming out with these topics because these are not topics that we normally hear about. And I'm also grateful. So again, thank you, Jenna.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome anytime, and I'm so happy that you can make it to the program. One of the things I would like to mention, I know we spoke about blood donor day, and I would just like to make an announcement, an urgent call for blood. Yesterday I met the young lady's sister, and she said she had to donate blood for her sister today at St. Jude's. And the patient name is Janet Didier, and they would really appreciate that persons can come out to donate blood at St. Jude's Hospital or Owen King Hospital. So urgent call for blood for Janet Didier from today. You can do it at St. Jude's Hospital or Owen King Hospital. I had that opportunity to speak to her sister yesterday, and she told me, she had to go and donate blood for the sister, and that's not the first time. So hopefully, we wish Janet speedy recovery. But for persons out there, we would really appreciate that you can go out there and donate some blood if you can. So, having said that, let me just say I wish everybody a wonderful week and I hope that everything goes well. Don't forget, amidst carnival season, it has already started. We want persons to take all precautionary measures, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. That's one of the things that when persons are injured, there is always an urgent call for blood for those persons. So be mindful of all these things. Don't forget your behavior. We have a lot of STIs in our midst. So take all necessary precautions. Ensure that you use your necessary protection. Ensure that you behave accordingly. We're not saying that person shouldn't have fun. We would like everybody to enjoy themselves, but however, um, ensure that you do things like tomorrow you might not regret, and so on, and ensure that your health comes first amidst everything that you're doing during a hurricane or the carnival season. Why am I with hurricane?
That's
Um,
doing off of them.
oh yeah, we that is during the hurricane season also. So persons out there enjoying the the carnival season. Don't forget there are many substances. So don't abuse these substances. And again, it all boils down to what you do, your behavior, when to say no, and just have fun, but have clean fun. All right. So again, thank you so very much, Romanus, for always being there for us, as well as Ulan. Um, Without you all, I don't think our program would be so successful. And we would really like to encourage persons out there, the public, to make a quick call make comments, and so on. We really appreciate the feedback that is given to us. So have a wonderful day and take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
911, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. with the consultant. Health is not